Bonjour à toutes et à tous, je suis Marie-Jeanne et je suis directrice artistique et curatrice chez Rescue Art. Et pour cet épisode, ça va être un peu spécial car il va se dérouler en anglais car notre invité aujourd'hui est Howie Green. At ARTFELT, we want to give a voice to the artists and associations who are members of Rescue Art, which is the philanthropic digital art platform. And here is a safe place for both artists and organizations to share their thoughts, their relationship with art, Web3, and the values and causes they hold dear and want to defend. So I will be giving the mic to Howie. Please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, very happy to have you here. So can you tell us a bit more about you?
Well, my name is Howie Green. I'm a graphic designer, writer. I do a lot of painter. I do a lot of different things. I have been doing pretty much focused on my artwork for the last decade or so. Prior to that, I had a graphic design studio and did a lot of multimedia work and painting and have several books published. So I've been doing a lot of work recently of my own, generating my own work. And I've always been interested in technology and where it's going and the cutting edge of technology. So websites, multimedia, now NFTs and artificial intelligence, wherever that's going to go. So I've always been interested in technology and how that intersects with art, especially my art, and how I can use it.
Can you tell us a bit more about your artistic approach?
Mostly it is, these days, it's sort of a pop art, a lot of psychedelic kind of approach to it. Very kind of retro pop art style in the kind of style of like Yellow Submarine or Andy Warhol. It's that kind of sort of pop art feel, which I had done a lot when I was in school in the 60s. And then it kind of went away. It kind of fell out of favor. But about 10 years ago, it came back. I got asked to do an illustration in that style. And it just took off. It almost has a life of its own.
Yeah, it came back in force.
And I've been doing a lot of that kind of work. And it started to sell. And I got signed by a couple of licensing companies who take that work and put it on products. So it's just sort of become its own kind of multicolored monster. And I love working in that style. My training was very traditional. I went to art school, so I was trained to draw very realistically, which I do all the time. Also, I'm an avid urban sketcher. I go out every weekend with my urban sketching friends, and we draw from life around the city. So I do that a lot still. But the work that people know me for is the sort of the pop art work.
Yeah, I saw on your like social media that you also post like your outings with your friends, like doing art. That's cool.
You probably heard of the Cow Parade, which is the
Yes.
public art event. Yeah. So the Cow Parade is in Boston right now. And one of the I did 7 of the cows. One of the cows is covered in my urban sketches. And so it was really fun to see that, put that out there. So yeah.
Oh, great. So how did you start making art and being an artist? Was it like since you were a child, or did you decide one day to become an artist?
Well, I don't know. It sort of happened by accident. When I was a kid, I just played baseball. I wasn't an artist. There were no artists in my family. I don't know. It just wasn't part of my life. And we had moved out to the country, out to the prairie. And in the wintertime, storms would come through and knock out the power. So we had to go. We went to my mother's had a friend in the city. So we drove into the city, and it was at Christmas time, and there was nothing to do. I was 11 years old. So they gave me like a present, like a generic present. Like, here's a present for you, And it was a pad of paper with some pencils. And I had nothing to do, so I just started drawing from the newspapers. I did Archie and Veronica and Dick Tracy. And I don't know why I did it. I had never drawn before. I just didn't. It's just like a light bulb came on.
Yeah, and
I started drawing. And I could do it. And I started, and I've never stopped. I've been drawing ever since. So that was my path. It was like I was either going to be that or a rock star. But I
Yeah.
wasn't a good enough singer, so I became an artist. But I did play in a lot of bands, but it was mostly the art stuff that just I was obsessed with it, and I
Cool.
never stopped drawing.
That's
So it was
nice.
kind of accidental.
But a happy happening, as we can
Oh yeah, it was
say.
a great accident. I'm glad the power went out. Yeah.
Yeah. And we also seen like during COVID period, like in France and or I guess like in other countries, when we had to be inside and not go out, a lot of people took back like their artistic like expression as a way to kind of get to move on and to express themselves in other ways. So that's very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, very interesting. It's fun.
Yeah. And so you are the second artist to have created a collection on rescue, which is called Howie Was.
Yeah.
But first, I wanted to ask you, how did you discover rescue? How did you get to know Eric
I
and
I didn't. You guys discovered me. You found my work, and
yeah,
you asked me if I'd be interested. And at the time, I've only done two NFT uh, collection portfolios. I did one about a year ago for an elephant sanctuary in
okay,
Asia, and you guys are the second one. I'm not sure about NFTs or how I feel about them, but I didn't want to go into it thinking I was going to be a millionaire, but I was interested in them as it became a device for charity,
yeah,
for a way to raise money for people. So the elephant sanctuary one was very successful and raised quite a bit of money for the elephant
great,
sanctuary. And then you guys came along, and I liked your approach to it, where it was an intersection of commerce and charity, and
mm,
making some money, but also giving back and helping people raise money. And I liked that aspect of it. So that's why I was attracted to it. I had been approached by a lot of people to sell my NFTs, but I just didn't feel comfortable
mm,
with them. But I like the approach that Rescue had with
great,
combining it with another aspect of money and
yeah,
commerce and art. So yeah,
making a good
that's
use
why
of
I was
that.
interested in it.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so much. And
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
can
because
you?
a lot of
Yeah,
the early people in NFTs were very suspicious.
yeah, right.
They were. I wasn't sure who I was talking to or if they were real, and a lot of them disappeared overnight. But when you guys
Okay,
came along, I was like, yeah, these guys are real, and I like this. I like this approach to using NFTs.
great. And can I ask you, how would you like describe or explain your collection, how it worked to other people?
Well, it's a nice sort of cross section portfolio of the kind of work I've been doing for the last few years. It's a very upbeat, very colorful, bright pop art approach to the different subject matters. And there's quite a good selection of different images that are fun and kind of non-traditional art. It's that retro pop art style that I love to work in. So that's kind of what the collection is. It's a selection of those kind of images.
Great. And what do you think of digital art in general or NFTs? Like you told me that you created your first one for a
Yeah,
charity.
I when I first heard about NFTs, I wasn't sure. I thought, what? And I'm still not sure about the overall environmental impact of them because
Mm-mm-mm.
I keep hearing different reports. All these people, and
Yes.
a lot of people kind of went crazy when NFTs first came out. And I heard that Justin Bieber bought one for $1 million. And I was like, it's just nuts. Uh, I think they're a very interesting art form, and I'm always interested in new art forms. And traditional painting and prints are great. A while ago, I did another new art form, which was limited edition art prints on blotter paper.
Oh, cool.
A gallery in London published a portfolio of 9 of my images on blotter paper, limited editions, and that had never been done before. So that was a new art form.
Oh,
And then NFTs came along, and this is interesting. This is new, and now we're dealing with artificial intelligence, which is also I'm fascinated with. So I don't know. I think that we're waiting on NFTs to see because they've only been around for about a year and a half or something. It's a fairly new form of art. So I'm waiting to see kind of where it all goes, but I'm very interested in it. I think it's a very interesting idea to own a piece of digital art. A designer I know did some NFTs, but he also did a paper version of the NFT.
Yeah.
So whoever bought the NFT got a signed paper print
Also
of it
have a
mailed to them.
physical
You know,
version.
yeah. So
That's
they have
cool.
a
That's
paper.
very
Yes, you had
cool.
something. So I thought that was I liked that approach. I thought that was interesting. So there's a lot of different ways I think that NFTs are going to kind of expand into their own art form. But I think at the moment it's still kind of new, and people are still trying to figure out what exactly it is and how it's different from just like taking a screenshot,
Yeah, right.
or just doing a JPEG. But digital art is kind of like when you're buying a movie, on your streaming service. Like what are you really owning? So it's kind of this idea of owning. Yes, owning something digital is kind of a new thought, and I think we're all kind of trying to figure out what it means and how. So the idea of owning an NFT or something, it's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
And I think I'm sort of fascinated to see where it all kind of evolves.
Great. Yeah, that's very interesting, and that's still an unspoken, like an unanswered question that we're still trying to find about, and also we're also writing history in a way that people are the one that chose like the meaning and the history behind that, and what they will be doing with actually these new technologies and this new way to own like digital art and art in general. So that's very interesting. So next.
So what I also like is the idea if you're buying it as part of a sort of a charity thing or part of a fundraising thing, that's kind of cool, and I think that adds a whole different flavor to buying an NFT, because then you own something, but part of it went to a charity, and so the charity can also share on the kind of being co-owner or part owner. It's an interesting approach to it, and I think it made it very appealing to me, as opposed to just buying an NFT.
Yeah, that's nice. Moving on. So, do you have like a source of inspiration, and who or what would be your source of inspiration? Like, do you have someone or something that keeps you being inspired?
Well, you have to pay the bills. So,
of course.
So I'm always inspired to pay the bills. I'm always working on a new image. I'm never not working on something. I'm always working on new material. I'm always working. So my inspiration comes constantly. Wherever I am, wherever I go, I'm like a basking shark. I just look at everything. If I'm on the subway or if I'm in the city, if I'm driving around, wherever I am, I'm always looking for a new image. I'm always looking for something new that I can create. So my inspiration can come from anything. I mean, I can be walking down the street and see a shirt or a hat or a flower or anything, and I take my camera with me always. So I'm always taking pictures of things that might work out. Well, that might be something. That might be something. So my inspiration comes just literally all day long. I tend to go. I fall into the rabbit hole of my Instagram scroll, see what, because I'm always looking for new images, new things, something that catches my eye, and I never know when it's going to happen or where it's going to come from. It can come. I was sitting was having breakfast with a friend of mine the other day, and they brought this croissant, and it was just beautiful. I didn't want to eat it, so I took a picture of it. It's like, this is like a work of art. It was beautiful. There's a new French cafe in Boston, and it was just beautiful. I took a picture of it. I came home and I did a painting of it. So you just never know where inspiration is going to come from. I don't think it comes. A lot of people sit around waiting for it, but I think you have to work at it. I think it just
it's
comes
kind
from
of
all over
a
the
lifestyle,
place,
and you keep being open to get inspired by the external
I'm driving
stuff.
around in my car, and something will catch my eye, and I'll stop and take a picture of it. Oh, that's cool. So it's always in my mind that I need to create more images.
Yeah, also take pictures. So I know like the feeling that, I found this beautiful. I have to stop and then take a picture of that. Like that's the
right,
way
exactly
that.
right. So And
You do.
sometimes I
That's
just
great.
throw them away, but sometimes it was like, if I flip it, so there's my inspiration is always, and I always have a sketchbook with me too. So I always, and I've been doing this since I was in art school, so for decades. I always have a little sketchbook with me, and I'll stop and do a quick sketch of something, or if I get an idea, I'll jot it down in my sketchbook. So it's just inspiration is sort of a constant thing for me. I'm always looking for something new. So it's just,
Great.
it just goes all the time.
Cool. And what would be your advice for another like artist which is beginning in the art world? I don't know how to say that, but
Well, I get asked if I have any advice all the time. And the best advice I heard the other day, I used to say, my advice is draw everything all the time. Because Stan Lee from Marvel Comics, Stan Lee used to tell the Marvel artists, that was his advice. Practice, draw everything all the time, because you never know when somebody's going to ask you to draw Spider-Man jumping through a window, holding a cat with a rocket ship going by, and you just never, so you have to draw everything. But I heard Steve Martin, the comedian Steve Martin the other day talking, his advice was be so good that they can't ignore you.
oh,
I thought,
that's
that's
great.
really good. I like
Yeah,
that.
that's really good.
That's really
That's
good.
deep.
So that's my advice. Be so
Great.
good that they can't ignore you.
Nice. Do you have another advice for people in general? Like something that you want to share or say?
Well, I teach classes too. I teach classes 4 or 5
Oh,
times a
cool.
week, and I always tell kids will come in and they'll say, "I spent a long time on this." I go, "I don't care." And so I worked really hard in this. Well, I hope so. Like, it doesn't matter. It only matters if it's good or if it's not good. So it doesn't matter if you did it in 5 minutes or 3 days. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's good, it's good. So my advice is you just have to keep working. You have to do the work. There's this idea now floating around that there's this, if you do 10,000 hours
Yeah.
of work,
It will come back to
that
you
whole
like
theory. Yeah,
positively and stuff.
well, you'll get this still doesn't mean you're going to be successful, but it means that if you do it and you apply it and you improve while you're doing it, that you will get your skill levels up to a professional level. So that to me is kind of interesting because you have to do the work. And, especially with younger artists, you have to draw, you have to do the work, you have to draw all the time, paint all the time. It's almost like it has to become your main activity,
Yeah.
and a lot of people just aren't willing to do the work. And it doesn't matter if it's art or dancing or sports, whatever. You have to be willing to put in the work to get good, to get so good that they can't ignore you.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great. I also keep that in mind. Okay, so moving on to questions that are more like random. Where is your safe place? What would be your safe place?
My safe place is in an art museum, any art museum.
Great.
I I find art museums. Every place I go to the art museum. That's my safe place.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm surrounded by beautiful things, and somebody has put thought into why these things are in this museum. And I like to go around and look at the things and see what am I looking at, because sometimes I don't understand them, sometimes I love them. So, but art museums are always my safe place.
Yeah, it's fascinating indeed.
I always feel safe in an art museum. I'm comfortable, and yeah,
It's great.
there used to be record stores. I used to go to record stores all the time. That was my safe place, but yeah,
Then it's
there aren't very
changed.
many of those anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's coming like have become kind of a rare shop. Like you don't find them that much
Well,
anymore.
because record stores to me used to be like art galleries because of the album covers. I used to
Oh,
love to look at album covers, and that was like going to an art gallery for me. It was like going into a
yeah.
record store, finding something I'd never heard of before. I would buy albums. I had an enormous collection of vinyl albums that I sold
Oh,
a while
nice.
ago, but I would buy albums just because I liked the cover.
And covers
And
are
then,
really like
yeah.
in terms of like art and designs, they're very
Oh,
inspiring.
they're absolutely, totally, yes, absolutely, yes. Yeah,
Oh,
so
great.
it used to be record stores, they don't exist anymore. But so I always feel at home in an art museum.
Great. And what would be your favorite place in the world? like in the
My
US, in
favorite place
Boston?
in the world is Camden Town in London.
Okay, why is that?
Whenever I'm there, I feel like I'm home. It just feel
Great.
it's such a wonderful, crazy place. I like to
Mm.
go to Paddington Station and then walk behind it and take one of the canal boats up to the canal to Camden Town, then walk around Camden Town. That's my favorite. That's my favorite thing to do.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's just the best.
Yeah. And what's your favorite food?
Donuts. I don't know
Donuts?
if you have donuts. You have
Okay.
do they have donuts? I don't remember seeing donuts when I was in Paris. Yeah, Americans
There
are just
now there's some like good donuts place that we can like next time you visit we can introduce you to, but they're all like more or less coming from like US brands or small shops which like who liked the hipster feeling of like concept stores and concept cafes, these kind of
yeah. I
things.
think when I was in Paris, I saw there was a French, Japanese, a Vietnamese bakery, and
Mm.
they had mushi donuts in there.
Oh yeah,
They're made
yeah.
out of yeah, those are
The
good.
mochi
But
donuts,
yeah,
they're really
donuts.
good. I
I'm
love
a
that.
donut aficionado. Yeah, I love
That's so
donuts. Donuts
nice.
are my favorite food.
Yeah, that's so cool. Great. And so what will be your upcoming projects?
Upcoming
Um,
projects.
yeah.
So what am I? I am in. What am I working? I've got a book project that I'm working on.
Oh,
I did a
cool.
book, first illustrated version of H.G. Wells' The Invisible Man last year,
Okay.
and it's selling pretty well. So they want to do another book in that series. So they're trying to decide which one it is. So that's going to be coming up. It might be, I'm hoping it's Frankenstein or Dracula or something like that, but it might be
Yeah.
something. So one of the old original stories. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. So we're talking about that. And then what else am I doing? I'm teaching. I've got some new classes I'm teaching, and I have a bunch of new images I'm working on
Cool.
for
Do you teach
some
art
licensing
or
projects.
other kind of classes?
I'm sorry.
Do you teach art classes?
Yes, I teach art classes. Art classes.
Cool.
Um, I teach them to kids, and I just started teaching to adults.
Okay.
So I'm enjoying. I hadn't really done it until about a year ago. I started,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very new experience for me, and it's interesting. It's very interesting. I'm not
Great.
sure if I like it, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
What else am I working on? I have a couple of projects coming up in the fall. Um, a couple of public art projects that I can't discuss, but I got a couple
No
new one of
worries.
those coming up in the fall.
Can't wait to
The
see them.
last 6 months have been crazy. I did cows and a fox and a mural, and it's just been
Yeah.
one project after another. So the summer usually is a little quiet. So,
Mm. Right. It's time to rest. It's good.
yeah, it's good because it's too hot. So
Mhm. Right. So, moving on. So what is your thoughts about like generative art and AI? You know, the art that you can
oh, AI,
generate
yeah.
through
Oh,
AI.
it's really I'm fascinated by it. I have a very good friend who has a wall of computers in his house, and
Oh,
he's got them
cool.
all generating AI images. So I was unaware of it until I went out to his house in February, and he
Okay.
showed me what he was working on. I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" So we sat there for hours creating the strangest images. A
Great.
panda bear driving a pink convertible. I mean, we were just coming up with these crazy things, and I thought it was amazing. And then about a month later, it just exploded all over the world.
Yeah, right.
So now everybody. I see it everywhere I go now. So I've been playing around with it, and I think it's a very interesting tool. Um, my issue with it right now is a lot of the people who are using it haven't done the work, so
Yeah.
they haven't created any images before. So
Mm,
they're I don't know what they're thinking about when they're going into it. But as an artist, I think it's a fascinating tool to have access to
mm.
because a lot of the images that are generated are things I love, but I wouldn't want to paint them, because it's great for like crazy detail and all kinds of stuff like that. So I've been working with my friend to create images. I haven't shown them to anybody yet that are images that I would like to see, that I would like to do, but I don't want to paint because they're too hard or
Yeah.
too. would take too long.
Yeah.
So but as an artist, I think it's an amazing tool to have access to. It's really cool. And I've been talking to a number of people about how it's being used professionally, like photographers and other artists. So there's a lot of issues about copyright and which pictures are you using and all those sort of legality things. But it's not going away. And all these people who are saying, say no to artificial intelligence. It's like, no, embrace it. It's here. It's not going away. So we have to define how it's going to be used and what it is. And I haven't seen very many artists using it yet, but I am just having a really good time seeing what I come up with, because it doesn't have a brain, so it doesn't know what anything looks like. So you put in a description and it comes up with, depending on the set of images it's drawing from, it comes up with whatever it can to kind of meet your description. So my descriptions are getting longer and longer and longer and more specific. So as I'm learning to use this tool, but it's really interesting. I just kind of mind blowing. I'm fascinated with it.
Idealize and visualize at the same time, and you get
it's like, what if we did, because I would do a little sketch of it, like what I think it would look like, and then we put it into the computer, and you see it start to evolve and create these images on the screen, and you're going, wow, that wasn't at all what I had pictured in my head. But I actually kind of love it. I think it's a very interesting tool for artists to get a hold of. And I hope more of my artist friends can have access to it, because boy, it's fascinating.
It can also be another source of inspiration.
And it's only been around for it's a brand new tool. It's only been around, in the hands of regular people for about 6 months, 8 months, something like that. So it's a brand new thing, and it's just already just really popular. And I'm very curious to see where it's going to go and how it's going to impact like movies and video and just everything. But it's going to have an impact, and it's not going away. So we have to figure out how to use it and how we can use it as artists. I think it's great. I think it's really interesting.
Cool. And then last question, what would you like to see on Rescue, or what kind of project you would like to do with us, like some ideas of what we could be doing to improve with our website, some functionalities, options, projects?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it much. I was thinking that I like things that are, it might be interesting to see things that are targeted to like animal. I'm a big animal rescue guy. So animal rescue things, environmental things, gardening. Like if there was like specific subject matter that could be accessed, something like that was my only thought about. Because people seem to have these causes. So if I was a gardening fanatic and I could buy some NFTs that kind of were in that arena of interest, or animal help or environmental or water or, cooking, whatever the interest might be, different areas of interest with kind of focused on that would be, I think that would be cool to see that.
Great. Okay. Well, I think we're done now. So thank you very much again for taking the time to talk with me on this podcast. And I hope to see you one day in Paris, if everything goes well for you.
Yes, me too.
And so thank you so much. I will stop the...
Okay, thank you.